pulse is slow. Next we look at the vital substances, and the vital substances are essential substances that demonstrate the workings of the body and the mind. When we look at Qi, for instance, we know that Qi it's a refined substance, and it's transformed by the internal organs to nourish the body, mind, and spirit of the person. It's called by many names in around the world. In the West, for instance, we can call Qi very simply as carbohydrates. Carbohydrates give us the energy to propel our bodies through life. This is one form of Qi, as are all of the other nutrients. And Qi in itself can be both a material form as well as an immaterial form. And the material form of energy that we would use today, and people go into health food shops all the time to buy these, and these would be minerals, inorganic nutrients that are essential nutrients that we take into our body to help us to develop and to grow and to remain healthy. When we look at the vital energy that motivates, fuels and moves the body and mind, we look at the clinical patterns of disharmony associated with Qi. And we essentially have 4 patterns of disharmony associated with Qi. 3 of them are, or 2 of them are definite deficiencies, and 1 of them can be combined with a deficiency and an excess, and certainly Qi stagnation would be considered an excess, as we discussed in class. So let's just take a look at Qi deficiency, for instance, and here we see fatigue, shortness of breath that's worse on exertion. So in other words, if we just walk down to the end of the road and we feel tired, or if we sweat on slight exertion, then we may be looking at a Qi deficiency. The complexion is pale and the spirit of the person could be weak. The tongue is usually pale with a thin coating, and the pulse is empty. Again, a very important aspect of looking at patterns of disharmony are to look at the principle of treatment. In other words, how are we going to treat this? And the principle of treatment is based on the functions that we have of our points. Here in the West, that's the way that we need to be looking at it. So in other words, we're going to tonify Qi. And then we look through our list of points for the prescription of points that tonify Qi, that do exactly what we want in our principle of treatment. And the list of points that we have here would be stomach 36, tonifies Qi of the whole body, it strengthens the whole body. Lung 9, large intestine 4, large intestine 10, Ren 6, which is an excellent Qi tonic, bladder 20. And when you understand how Qi is made, you'll understand that the spleen is one of the major organs involved in the production of Qi. However, we can't lose sight of the other organs that are involved in Qi production as well, or in the creation of Qi in the body. When we look at the Qi sinking, for instance, and this is where we would see signs of bearing down sensation in the abdomen or prolapsed organs. Hemorrhoids would be a clinical manifestation of sinking Qi. And again, the tongue is similar to our Qi deficiency, because Qi sinking is a Qi deficiency. The pulse would be empty, and our principle of treatment would be to tonify and raise Qi. Our points would be slightly different, and yet the same as tonifying Qi. We have Do 20, which is an excellent point for raising Qi in the body. Stomach 36 also raises Qi. When it's combined with spleen 6, it improves its functioning. Large intestine 10, again a combination with stomach 36, tonifies Qi of the whole body. Ren 6 and bladder 20 would be points that we may use. Next, when we look at rebellious Qi, here we're looking at coughing, belching, vomiting, hiccups, dizziness. We may see these clinical manifestations in other patterns of disharmony later on in the course as well. As I said, this is an introduction to traditional Chinese medicine, and it's a good idea just to take it very simply here. We'll expand on these clinical manifestations later on when we cover the patterns of disharmony, and there are about 78 patterns of disharmony, sometimes a little bit more. However, when the patient presents to us, they're going to present to us with a lot more complicated pattern of disharmony than that. So rebellious qi would be one pattern. For instance, we may find coughing in a qi deficiency, and we may also find coughing in a qi stagnation as well. And we may also find coughing as part of a pattern where we have an invasion of pathogenic factor as well into the body, and likewise with all of the other symptoms. So that's why when we look at the tongue, for instance, the tongue may be pale with a white coat or red with a yellow coat, and it may get a little bit more complicated than that. So for now, let's just understand that we can have a qi deficiency, a qi sinking, and rebellious qi as well. And our principle of treatment would depend on the associated signs and symptoms of that pattern. Our principle of treatment we're going to look at here would be to subdue rebellious qi. And again, these are just a selection of points that we might use to subdue rebellious qi. These are not set in stone. Again, when we look at to see someone coming into our clinic, I'm not saying that it's impossible, but to see somebody coming into our clinic with these clinical manifestations would be quite rare. So moving on to a very common pattern would be qi stagnation, and this would be pain that's not fixed. So in other words, pain that moves. It may be in the chest and hypochondriac areas. We may also have not just pain, but we may have emotional stagnation as well. This would be a person whose emotions are stuck. They may be stuck in grief, in sadness, in anger. So anybody that feels as if they're stuck, like some people like use the expression, I'm stuck, I feel as if I'm stuck, I'm not moving forward, I'm not moving on. These would all be part of the pattern of qi stagnation. Again, bearing in mind that qi can be an immaterial form as well as a material form. So sometimes a person may feel a lump in their throat. It feels very solid, and yet when we have it investigated, there's nothing there. It's still there, and we've all experienced that at some stage in our life, especially if we've been a little bit nervous at an interview or on a date, or meeting a group of people for the first time, or especially when we're having lunch with our new in-laws or our new partners, parents or family, and that. The tongue is usually normal. It can have other qualities to the tongue as well, such as a darker shading on the sides of the tongue, and the pulse is wiry. Our principle of treatment for qi stagnation would be to promote the smooth flow of qi. Again, this is a lovely term, as I've said many times in class, rather than move qi, because if we have a person who's suffering from manic depression, for instance, that's the last thing that we want to do is move qi, because all we're doing is just moving them from one state of disharmony into another. It would be far better to promote the smooth flow of qi. In other words, to try to achieve a little bit of calmness in the body. Some points that promote the smooth flow of liver qi would be liver 3, gallbladder 34, spleen 6. Liver 13 is an excellent point for us here in Tuena for promoting the smooth flow of liver qi. P6 and bladder 18, the back shoe point for the liver. And later on, when we look at the functions of the liver, we'll see that the liver is the one organ that's responsible for promoting the smooth flow of liver qi, keeping everything moving, so to speak, in the body.